For today's fun, will be silver soldering falconry bales. I kind of got bored. I thought I may as well record the bale making process as well as the bamboo flower rods. And unfortunately, I'm starting right in the middle. Excuse me, but I will eventually get around to videoing the entire process. For right now, what we have done is the bales assembled. We just need to solder it together. So, yes, these will be just as boring as the flower rod videos. This particular metal I'm using today is phosphorus bronze, which produces a low pitch tone. And they're especially good for us older folks who have lost our high-end hearing. Maybe that's our range hearing. And I have a vent hole drilled in one side of the bale. I don't know if the camera can see that or not. Probably not. And also, I have soldered a nut on one end of the clamp, which also has a hole through it. And that's to keep the things from exploding when I'm soldering. I've only had one bale to explode, and it was not pleasant. It shot the clapper into the ceiling, and it stuck there. Now, I normally have my head face over the bale while I'm soldering. But that day I was particularly lucky not to be in that position when it went. You can see actually what I'm doing here. We usually make these bales in batches of 800 to 1,000. This is part one of this batch. The other half of the batch will be a same metal but a smaller size. It requires about 30 minutes per bale. So if you're going to be a bale maker, you're not going to have much of a life other than making bales. I ship them all over the world. In fact, I think I'm up to about 91 different countries that I've sent to. Been making bells for about 34 years now, I guess. And I've almost figured out how to do it. And there's nobody out there to teach you. There's only four to five in the world that do this sort of thing. Particularly on a regular basis, that do it for more than a hobby. I think I'm trying to say commercial production. And that noise you hear in the background is an exhaust fan. So I won't have to breathe the fumes from the flux. We'll start soldering as soon as I get all 33 of these clamps loaded up. I think I'm the only one that uses an equator reinforced bale. It adds longevity to the bale when the birds hunting and goes down for a kill. If he happens to hit a limb or a stick or a rock or something, the bale is not going to be destroyed. We have a whole lot of room here. And I use oxygen acetylene for my heat source. Exhaust fan adjusted here. always make a total mess out of the very first one I solder, since I only solder about 3 times a year. And it takes a time or two to remember how to do it. The solder I'm using is 56% silver, and it has to get up to about 1400 degrees for it to melt, and then another 100 degrees for it to flow. When I first started doing this, I thought, well, I can sweat copper, but why can't I silver solder bells? It doesn't work that way. And after you've done this a while, you realize you can move the solder around where you want it by the pressure of the gases coming from the torch, plus with a little help from Mr. Gravity. I don't know how much of this to record. I think I bored everybody to death in the flower rod videos, where it was all work and no narration, just because I don't like to talk. Made a mess out of that one. We'll polish out all that solder mess when we're finished. You can't tell I was so sloppy. You have to keep moving your torch when we first apply it to the bell around that brass equator band, because if we just let it sit in one spot, it will melt the brass. Or if there's any tension on the band, it will cause it to snap. Let me know when I've bored you to death, and I'll turn the camera off. Somewhere. There you go. I will use what's left of that for another part of the procedure. It's getting to where it's terribly expensive to do these. Over the years, silver solder has increased about 6% per year. Now I pay $150 for what I used to get for $30. Oh well. Over the years, I've had lots of folks want to get into bell making until I tell them how labor intensive and how expensive it is for the materials. You really don't make any money, but you have a tremendous amount of fun. Most of the silver solder I'm applying here is cosmetic reasons. The only thing that needs to be soldered is the joint of the two halves joined together. Once that's joint's been made, the bell will ring. You kind of have to fill up all the spaces just to make it look nice, I guess. I don't know, it's too early in the morning. Yeah, we've been doing about 20 minutes. I'll cut it off here in a second. And I live out in rural Tennessee, and it takes 18 to 20 hours to upload 20 minutes of video. So, I want to thank you for watching, and I think I will video the entire process. Except for the part that makes my bells unique. We probably won't discuss that. It took 2 years to figure this stuff out, actually. And with 2 years, I mean putting in 30 to 40 hours a week, just trying to develop technique and the shape of the bell I wanted for the sound I wanted, and it was a long, drawn-out process. We'll solder one more and then I'll turn the camera off. I haven't had my cup of coffee either, so I may have to do that. I started this batch of bells back in November. You can see what a slow process it is. I have another 400 bells that hadn't been assembled yet, but are ready to be put together. Always one little spot that doesn't want to cooperate. We got it that time. Okay, I'll cut you off there. And we'll see you next time.